This is a pinch pot. A pinch pot is a small bowl you can create out of clay using just your hands. Pinch pots are one of the oldest forms of art. In fact, archaeologists have found ancient pinch pots during excavations in China that are nearly 17,000 years old, making pinch pots one of the first known ways of creating art out of clay. It is believed that the practice of making pinch pots began to meet the needs of the people who made them. Ancient cultures would make them with simple purposes, such as holding food or water. However, as civilizations became more advanced, pottery soon evolved into an art form. Instead of creating basic pots to meet specific needs, people began creating decorative and artistic vessels. Today, pottery, a part of a much larger field of art known as ceramics, is one of the most popular forms of three-dimensional art. And the process by which we make pottery today is still largely the same as how it was done in ancient times. Clay is dug up from the earth, shaped by artists into different vessels such as pots, cups, planters, and more, and then fired in a large oven called a kiln at a very high temperature until it is hard and durable. Heating clay for the first time is called bisque firing. Bisque firing is important because shaped clay is not considered pottery until it has been fired in a kiln. This is because clay is a natural material that begins as almost a thick form of mud. If extreme heat is not applied to a fully dried piece of pottery and it comes in contact with water, it will dissolve back into its original muddy clay form. However, when you cook dried pottery in a kiln at the correct temperature or fire it, a chemical reaction is created, which causes the material to become strengthened, permanent, and waterproof. After bisque firing, artists may then choose to apply a glaze to the surface before firing the vessel again. The fired glaze often makes the surface of the pottery shiny, decorative, colorful, and watertight. The ancient method of pinch pot making is one that all ceramic artists begin with. It is the foundation of pottery as we know it today, and it serves to train young artists everywhere with how to use clay and introduce them to the world of ceramic arts. For today's activity, we are going to be creating our very own pinch pot planters. A planter is a tiny container with a small hole in the bottom that is used for growing plants. They are packed with a small amount of soil where a seed is buried so it can begin to grow before being moved to a garden or a larger pot. For our pinch pot planter, we will only need to follow a few easy steps. First, we must start with a small amount of clay. Then we make a ball. Push our thumb in, pinch and turn the pot, tap the rim, smooth it out, and finally, we will sign our name at the bottom of our pot and turn it in to be fired. So, now that we know what we are going to be doing, let's begin by taking our piece of clay and rolling it into a ball or sphere shape. You can make your sphere by rolling it in your hands like this. You can also make your clay into a ball by rolling it back and forth on the table. Once you have a nice round ball, take your thumb and push it into the middle of the clay, just like this. This is just the start of our pinch pot. We are not finished yet. Where we pushed in our thumb gives us a starting point to begin shaping our pinch pot by pinching and turning over and over until we get the shape that we want. Make sure that you do not make your sides too thin when shaping your pot. Instead, Try to make them about as thick as I made them in this video, which is about the width of one fingertip. Keep turning and pinching until all of your sides are about the same thickness all the way around. At this point, your pot will look almost done. But before we can be finished, we need to smooth everything out and make sure there are no cracks. To do this, use just a small amount of water on your fingers and gently rub the sides of your planter to smooth it out. Make sure that you do not use too much water or your clay will become too soggy, slimy, and messy. Too much water can also make your planter start to fall apart, so be very careful when using it to smooth it out. Next, to get a nice, straight, flat edge on our bowl, we can tap it on the table just like this. Make sure that you are not throwing your planter down hard onto the table. This can flatten it and you will have to start over. Instead, gently tap it on the table until the edges are straight and flat. Finally, make sure that you carve your name and your teacher's letter into the bottom of your planter, so that way we know which one is yours after we fire it. After your pinch pot has been shaped, we can turn it into a planter by creating a small hole in the bottom. This hole is important because it allows the water that you use to feed your plant to slowly drain out of the bottom so that your seed does not drown. After your planter is shaped, signed, and has a hole, let me check it one last time before you turn it in to be fired in the kiln. Lastly, I would like all of you to be creative when making your planters. You do not have to make a smooth, round planter, although that is okay too. Instead, you could be creative with how you shape it. If you pinch your planter in a few places when shaping it, you can create fun shapes like hearts. You can also carve in fun designs on the side of your planter. You can make straight lines, swirly lines, and even shapes. Let your creativity flow as we have fun and get started.